Welcome, everybody. We're back in the closet.
Hey,
Hey,
we good?
we're good. We're cooking.
Nice.
So yes, we're good for shizzle, if that's something we can say.
I don't think we say that anymore.
I like to say it.
I mean, you can say it if you want, but I'm just not sure if you're up with the times if you say it.
I may not be.
You don't care.
I really don't.
You do dad jokes. Why do you care?
I do dad jokes. I do whatever warms my heart.
You do dad jokes, but you also do extremely inappropriate jokes.
I do extremely.
Which I'm glad I can take, by the way.
I'm glad you can take
Aren't
it
you
too.
glad I'm not uptight and like, oh.
It would be rough if you were uptight.
Right?
That would be that'd be a prison sentence for me.
Which is a good thing to talk about, I feel like, in
It's
relationships.
a great thing to talk about. It's something that's probably a problem in a lot of relationships.
Right. Especially because, I mean, you've been like this since the beginning of time, I feel like. Or at least, I mean, I know since I dated you, you've always kind of been like this.
There's
now,
no doubt.
is it more pronounced now as you're getting older? Yes, I think it is.
Pronounced is not the word. What it is I'm perfecting my craft. So with age, I've gotten better.
Well, and you've gotten secure, and you're like, you can joke like this and not go to hell.
That's very true. Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yes, that's definitely part of it.
Speaking
for
of
sure.
hell, how in the actual hell did our ceiling fan get turned off? It's hot in here.
It's hot as a mofo up in here.
Can you yank that chain?
Oh, I'll yank it, girl.
Oh, that just
It's not the chain.
Oh no, that's the switch. That's gonna just don't worry about
Son
it.
of a
We
beagle.
will
How did
we
that
will
thing get
sweat
turned?
it out. Oh, he's standing on a chair.
Sorry if there's a lot of background
This
noise.
could get interesting because he's standing on a chair. Yeah, just stand up there and turn it with your hand. That'll work fine. Yep. You just go ahead. You're
Is it
gonna
over?
burn your
Here it is.
hand on a light bulb. Is he doing it? You just reversed it. It can't go in reverse. It's not winter. Just don't
My
worry
thing
about
is, why is it not spinning?
because it's broken. You have to pull the chain, bro.
Oh, this one right here.
Oh my gosh, I should have got there and done it myself.
I've got it.
You guys pull the small chain. Can he do it? Folks,
I pulled the small chain. I'm thinking the motor may be out.
oh, mother trucker. Just sit down. Yeah, I guess
It's
you're
trying.
probably right.
It's trying.
Well, now I feel like we should turn it off so we don't burn up the motor and cause a fire. Sorry, this is not where the podcast was going to go.
No, let's just
We
continue.
can worry about this later. But what I was saying is I feel like that you're more comfortable in yourself and know that, in fact, if you tell some off-color jokes, you're not going to go to hell. Because I think when we were growing up, you were probably raised like, you don't joke about sex, or you don't joke about this, or you don't joke about that. And so you held back a little bit. But I knew the real you.
Thank you. I think a lot of people did. I mean, my brothers, they always, it was always, I got the reputation of here's the line,
Right.
and Jeff always has to take it way past the line,
Right.
which is fun for me.
I feel like, though, in the past, you had a better filter. I feel like your filter
Oh, I was
might
like,
be
I had
a
a
little
great
bit broken
filter.
right now.
Yeah, I had a great filter back in the day because I did have that guilt.
Right.
The guilt of you're a bad example, you're encouraging bad things.
But do you feel like
and
that
I
now?
never cursed,
No, but
and I didn't cross lines really too much. It's much cleaner, dirtier stuff.
cleaner, dirtier stuff.
Yes, no, I don't. Did you say
I said, do you feel that way now?
guilty?
Yeah,
No,
I didn't think so. You shouldn't feel guilty.
I don't feel
No, I
guilty. I,
think that
only feel guilty
sometimes-
that sometimes I do some stuff that's off color that might be a little too offensive to some people.
Right.
And in hindsight, I might feel guilty
'Cause-
because I don't want to offend anybody.
Right.
But then there's Karens that get offended on stuff that this is jokes. This is a joke.
But sometimes you do take the jokes over the line, and even me and myself, I am like, oh my gosh. But I don't tell you what to do with them. I mean, I may say I would not joke about that if I were you, but then if I don't want to hear it, I just leave the room. And there have been times where I'm like, I'm gonna walk out of this podcast if you make jokes about the subject, period, because it makes me uncomfortable and I don't want to hear it. But you do you, boo.
And I respect that.
You know,
I don't want to make you uncomfortable.
I
So,
like to warn you of some topics that you might joke about that some people might perceive as really off color. Now, what you do with that is up to you, and I'm not going to judge you for it. I'm not going to make you feel bad for it. If you tell a joke about a subject, which you know what I'm talking about, that I don't approve of, and I walk off the podcast and you do it anyway and you get backlash, that's on you.
Right.
I'm not going to give you backlash.
Right. No.
Now, we may debate it. We've debated the issue before, but we've agreed to disagree.
Right.
So anyway, that's not the road I wanted to go down. The road I kind of wanted to go down was that in a relationship, I think that you have characteristics and certain things that are just ingrained in you. Are you listening to me or are you reading TikTok?
I'm texting our daughter in Florida that needs money.
Oh, okay.
So she's wanting money.
Of course she's wanting money. Didn't she want money yesterday?
Yes.
Okay. Anyway, there's certain things about people that are either characteristics or that are just so ingrained that they're not going to change. And they don't want to change them. So I feel like in a relationship, the only way it's really going to work 100% is if you identify those characteristics, realize that you can't change them, and be okay with it. Because if not, it's not going to work. Because you're not going to change people. Especially people who, A, don't want to change, and B, they're actual characteristics of the person, and they've been that way since birth. So, now, if the person comes to you and says, I don't like this about myself, and I want to change it. If you came to me and said, Angie, I really don't like that I'm inappropriate all the time, and I really want to work on changing it, will you help me? Then yes, that's something different. But you've never come to me with that. You've never said, I want to change this about me. So I have to let you be. If I don't, it's going to be really straining on, you're going to build resentment towards that other person, I feel like. I mean, it all comes down to you've got to be with someone. We talked about this with our guest over the weekend here. You've got to be with somebody long enough to really figure out who they are and realize who they are and embrace who they are. Or if you can't embrace who they are and love who they are, then you need to move on. That's your responsibility.
And it's responsibility on both sides, because I think the person who is not themselves sometimes will be another person at the beginning of a relationship.
Right, which is natural.
It's natural, but I think some personalities, and I think this might happen in all relationships, because I mean, you might want a person to be like you. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you might want them to agree with you on everything, and you might want them to be a certain way, and they may think they can be that way. You know what I mean? They may, because they're into you too. But then, like you said, you get 12 months in, and
right.
or you start, maybe you've been with them a year, 2 years, but then you start living together, and it's like now you're living it, and it's like, I want to be myself. Myself is not this person, and I think we both do a good job now. I didn't always. Young male,
right? Jeff
didn't always. I was kind of dominant in like the way I thought, so it was, you know what I mean? Yeah. Fortunately, we both thought a lot. We were similar on a lot of topics.
Right. I mean, I think it's natural though when you first start dating someone to put your best foot forward and not and do the very best, because I think that, like, okay, if something happened to you and we weren't together anymore, and you met somebody who does not know you, who knows nothing of Jeff Runyon, nothing other than just maybe it's a new girl that moved to town, she knows nothing about you,
right?
And you guys go out, I don't think you would be your true self on the first date. I don't think you'd be comfortable joking about the things that you joke about in front of me or in front of your friends, and that's okay.
Mm-mm.
You know, because I hear you saying you should be yourself all the time. Yes, but I think there's times where you hold back a little bit.
I mean that in your everyday life that's established. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, yeah, but I'm talking about, like, when you start a relationship.
When you start a relationship, that's different. I would feel a person out.
Well, yeah.
Because I'm trying to figure out if I want to be around this person. Because if they can't handle if they're going to be embarrassed or
right.
I can't hang out. If I got to literally stand at Adelphia in a bar setting with our friends and look over my shoulder to see if you're okay.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But you're not going to know that right at first, right? Because you're not going to go and be like who you are 100% until maybe even a few months went by, and then maybe you do a soft test. Maybe you take, and you'd be able to tell with how she reacts to other people being inappropriate. You're not the only inappropriate person in the world.
No.
And I say that with as much love as I can. I mean, I don't have a problem with how you are at all. But I'm just saying, like, you know, maybe one of your friends, maybe something on TV, you'll see how she reacts to that. Mm-hmm. And be like, I would joke about that, and she's reacting in this way. Maybe I should just bow out because I'm like that, and I'm going to show her I am over time. And I think over time you really see who the real person is and how they really are, because you can only hold back on your true characteristics for so long. For instance, we use the example of you being, telling jokes that might be inappropriate, or, saying stuff like that. We used the example with a friend the other day. Most of my life, my really close friends have been guys. They just have. No romantic feelings with any of them. No relationship, just friends.
Right.
And, I'm a very outgoing, friendly person. I'll talk to a guy of any age, a girl of any age, a grandma, a grandpa. I mean, it doesn't matter. I'm going to talk to you. I feel like I do see gender, obviously. But when it comes to being myself, but when it comes to being myself, I treat everybody the same.
Right.
So if I started dating someone, they didn't know anything about me, and I said, oh yeah, I ran into my friend Chaz at Adelphia the other day, and I sat with him at the bar and we had a drink and caught up. Now, Jeff would not get mad at that. You wouldn't get mad at that. If most of our friends that that I know, and I say I sat down, we chit chatted and had a drink and I left. You're not going to get mad at that. I'm not going to get mad at that. If it's a girl I know, if it's some girl I have no clue who she is, I mean, that's different. But you know what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
Okay, but if this new guy I'm seeing is like, and starts acting standoffish, I feel like it's my responsibility then and there to know and realize this is Angie.
This could be a problem.
Right. And I like this guy. I want this to work. Maybe it'll wear off. Probably
See,
not.
that's where it goes. That's where it goes bad.
Yeah.
And then that person, you always succumb to that because you do start to care about them.
Yeah.
I think most of the time. So you do start to care about them, and they're the primary role in your life. They become it if it becomes serious.
Sure.
So you cater that, and you will sacrifice yourself because it's manipulation at the end of the day. But I think that's something that's so important at our age, and I think we'd be more apt to do it at 45 is vet people. Say, hey, look, here's something about me.
Right.
I have guy friends. If that's a problem for you, we need to talk about it now.
But we might not have done that in our 20s.
We wouldn't have done that. We'd
Right.
have hit it. We'd have,
Right.
even when it got uncomfortable, we would have snuck around probably. It would have been like, it would have been cheating.
Right.
It would have just been, I don't want to deal with the flack.
Right.
You don't want to deal with the mouth of her making me feel bad because I'm hanging out with my girlfriend.
Right.
That's not a girlfriend. I've known her since we were 8. Right. So.
Or even not. Even it's like, hey, we're in this big group of friends together, and you know what I mean? It doesn't even have to be like that. I just feel like it's your responsibility to say, okay, this new guy reacted in a way like he was shocked that I did this. It's my responsibility to say, okay, listen, I'm friends with this person. There's nothing there, and I probably will do that again. Is that going to be a problem? And maybe he needs some time to think about it. And I say, I'm going to let you think about it. I'm not going to leave right now. I mean, it's not like, I'm out, dude.
You need to be
Not
very
that
straightforward.
abrasive,
You
but
need to say
straightforward.
it will happen again.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sacrifice time with friends.
Right.
That's important at this stage of my life.
Right.
Moving forward, I need a companion, a
Right.
partner, someone. I think that's what we're getting at in this. It's like the best thing you can do for the person you love is let them be them.
Right, and I think at the same time, like you with your, say inappropriate jokes. This new girl you're dating, she's like, oh my gosh, that was so inappropriate, and reacts negatively. It's your responsibility to say, I'm sorry that I offended you, but this is kind of my humor, and I've always been like this, and it's nothing that I want to change, and it's probably going to happen again. This is kind of who I am. And then what goes from there goes from there. I just think it's your responsibility to say, I will do this again.
You're going to hear a lot of that's what she said.
That's just who's going to be.
Right.
But I think when you give your partner that space, I think that, if the new person was like, you know what, I understand that you're going to have friends with your drinks. It kind of makes me feel uncomfortable, but I understand that you're going to do it. It's going to make me, that's going to be a good thing. I'm going to be like, all right, well, maybe there's part of me that wants to respect that, and just, I won't do it all the time. You know what I mean? Like, you'll work together.
You'll compromise a little,
open.
but if you both are, like, I think that's one thing we have that's good and helps us be successful is we have empathy.
Right.
So we always try to meet each other. It's not like one of us says, I don't like that. And then you go, okay, well, if you don't like it, I'm not going to do it. It's always, if you think it's stupid that I don't like that, we have a discussion about it, and we both try to meet in the middle. But we usually don't. It's not that way. It's usually, hey, you know what? This makes me feel a little weird, and then you tell me about it or talk to me about it, and then by you being open and not defensive, and me not being a dick and coming at you right out of the gates, seems like we both kind of give and say,
Right.
I'm like, it's really not that big of a deal. I just had some insecurities. I need to talk to you about
Right.
it. I didn't know how to approach you. Because that's usually what it comes down to in those situations is
Right.
insecurity.
Right.
And I think so much is shaped by the way we're raised.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, that's what I think about when you date. That's one thing you'd look at is when you date a girl, how's her mother and her father's relationship if they're together? You know what I mean? Does her mother kind of keep him quiet?
Right.
Is it like, no, don't speak, you embarrass me, or don't speak, don't, you know, just be a polite, professional, courteous person that never cracks a joke? Because I would be out. I'd be like,
Right.
I'm not going to be, I need someone that can be on my level.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean?
And-
That's what a partner is. That's what somebody you're going to live your life with is. They got to be on your level, and you don't sacrifice you to be on their level. That's the thing I don't think we do.
Mm-hmm.
You don't sacrifice and go, I don't like this about him. Which there are things that are like that, right? Every relationship has.
Well, you have to sacrifice some things, yeah.
But those are little things usually. They're not major things. And
Right.
personality traits are major.
Oh, personality traits you should never
You cannot
sacrifice.
sacrifice
I
that.
mean, maybe you'll sacrifice what color you're going to decorate your bathroom or what cabinets you're going to get on the kitchen counter. Okay, fine. But when you're talking about characteristics of who you are and how you're shaped and how you think about yourself and feel about yourself and what you want to do with your life, you know, that's what I'm talking about. There's no compromise there.
That's my point.
And I don't know that people who are young in relationships, and I'm not saying we know everything, and we still have stuff to learn. We're only 44
No, we've
and
been
45.
through our shit, and
But
we're
I mean,
still
we have
going
been
through it.
together
We
for 29 years, so we kind of do know a little bit. Not that we're
know
professional,
quite a bit.
but I'm just saying, these younger kids, like our daughter's age and even older, like even in their early 20s, they don't get that. I don't think they get that, to not sacrifice. Don't be someone else, and don't try to change the other person. That's basically what I want to get out of this podcast.
Right, and what are you trying to be? What that's a huge problem I think in a lot of relationships. People have a picture of what it's going to be. They have a picture of
because
how
they
they
watch
want their
movies.
life, right? They have a picture that I'm going to meet this man, we're going to get married, he's going to do this, this, and this, he's going to act this way,
It's
and
like
this
a
is
Sleepless
how
in Seattle.
right.
Yes.
This is how a woman is. I'm going to marry her. She's going to give me head
Right.
4, 5, 6 days a week, or whenever I just snap my fingers.
Because they just watch.
Because that's it's just. But seriously, it's like how are we raised? What are the models we see? Sadly, a lot of the times we see broken models. I think out there, which is stuff that is hard. I think for people to get over.
I think that, and we talked about this way back at the beginning, and when we started our podcast, I think it was called Princesses in Porn or something.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of touched
We
on this.
did.
That
You're right. I
have,
forgot about that.
You have a perception of what marriage is and what a relationship is because of what you've watched on TV, or even starting as, like you said, starting as a young, child. You see even cartoons. You see TV shows where the guy sweeps the girl, like you said, off her feet and does all the surprises and always romantic, and then the guys see the girls like wearing the dresses and the pearls and cooking the dinner
and cooking, and bringing it and waiting at the door, and just babying them and rubbing
like
them
Mrs.
and telling
Cleaver.
them, just.
I mean, it's just not like
putting them on a
that.
pedestal.
That's just not like that.
And it doesn't really promote teamwork. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
it's so much teamwork and so much.
That's a whole nother podcast.
It is a
teamwork
whole
and
nother
relationships.
podcast.
Oh dear Lord! If it's one-sided and one person's pulling all the way, that crap's not gonna last.
No,
it's not gonna last.
It's not gonna work.
I don't think it should. But anyway, that's not the topic that we're talking about.
No.
So yeah, it's your perception of what it's going to be like, and when you're in your teens and your 20s and stuff like that, it's so easy to just say, oh, I don't like that, but I can change that about him, or oh, he doesn't like that, I'm just going to change this thing that I've been doing for my entire life for him, and that doesn't normally work.
No, I think that...
Unless you come to the person and say, I want to change and I want you to help me. That's a whole different story.
Right. If you come to your spouse and you say, I need help, I've gone through this and I've had a problem with drinking or whatever it may be, or not going to church or whatever, and I want help, I need you to hold me accountable. And I think that's different. That's not the guy going to church because he knows she wants him to, so he can get her. Well, and then not doing it afterwards.
Yeah, well, that's funny you say that.
You play the game both ways.
Yeah, because your person you're with may say, I really want you to do this and this and this. Whatever. Let's use the church for example, because that's happened to my parents. My parents are married, and then they got divorced, and church was important to my mom. And my mom's side of the family, I mean, they were there, like your family, every time the doors were open, we were there. Well, my dad didn't so much, but my mom wanted that so bad from him, where he was on the prayer list at my church for years and years and years. Oh, please let Lloyd get saved. And, well, when they got divorced, he wanted, he wanted to get back with her. She kept saying no. He kept begging. And she said, okay, will you go to church with me from here on out? He said, yes, I promise. I'll go. He didn't want to go to church. He didn't want to go to church.
Right.
And she said, inside. And he said, yes, I promise I will. So they get remarried, and he goes to church with us for maybe a few months, and he's never been back since. So I don't.
It's just a manipulative factor, but the problem is by allowing your mom had a weakness that she didn't protect. That shouldn't have been in a negotiation. When you know that's a weakness for yourself, right? You should be like, no. I don't going to church so we can look a certain way. Right. That's not going to get you back, because that doesn't matter. Right. I mean, but that's the problem. I don't want to get in religion. It's the problem with religion because I don't want to, but I like to. I go into that like we're programmed as kids in the Christian church that you can save people. So that's kind of like I have a responsibility now to take them and try.
Oh, listen, there were so many times.
And you can manipulate that.
Oh, there were so many times growing up in church because, church people talk. And, I would be in Sunday school, and we'd be sitting in our little thing, and they'd be like, okay. The teacher would be like, does anybody have any prayer requests? And I'm just sitting there. And they'd like look at me. Like, does anybody have any prayer requests? Like, I'm supposed to say, oh, yeah, pray for my dad. And I never would. They were like, does anybody have any prayer requests? And I'm like, I'm good. But sometimes I would, because I'd feel pressure, like, pray for my dad, because that's what I've heard
that's horrible.
I'm not even kidding you.
The people are horrible in all areas.
I'm not kidding you. That was true. So anyway, again, another topic, but that's right. My mom should have never put that on my dad, because she knew in her heart, but she thought she was going to save him. She thought she could change him.
That's what I was getting at, but you can't.
You can't.
You gotta love the person for who they are.
Unless he came to her and said, I really do want to try. I really do want to go. Please keep on me. Please, I want to do this. It's going to be hard for me. And then that's something different. But when they get down and just say, I don't want to go, I'm not going, you just got to leave it, in my opinion.
Right, because after you're back in, it's like, once you're back in, it's hard to get them back out. Yeah. Right? I mean, once you get your foot in and you're around the kids again and you're back in.
Right. It's like, if something happened to us, heaven forbid, and we get divorced, and you say, I'm going to take you back, but you have to do intermittent fasting with me. It's important to me. It's an easier way for me to do everything together. And in my mind, I'm like, I can do it for a couple months, but I am not doing this for the rest of my life. But I want you back so bad that I say, okay, I'll do it. Well, that's not going to work. Well, it's not going to work.
Oh, no, I would never do that. I can't.
Unless I was like, oh, yes, Jeff, I really do want it. Like, I really do actually want to do that. And, that's something different.
But that's something that happens because your relationship's good. I mean, you can't. I mean, for me, that would be idiotic. Right. Just from all the examples I've seen. It happens. It happens.
Stupid promises.
Ridiculous.
Thinking that you're going to change them, and then the other person bowing down and doing stuff you're not going to continue to do. You go to counseling, and the counselor's like, you're going to have to do this, and this specific thing is changing your characteristic, something that you've been doing forever, and you don't want to change it, and just for the sake of the counselor, you're like, all right. You're not going to do it forever. You got to speak up and say, listen, I don't think that I can. You got to be honest. When are people going to start being honest? And stop just like pushing stuff to the side, thinking it'll change, it'll be all right. You gotta like face it and say, with all due respect, I kind of like telling inappropriate jokes and goofing off inappropriately, and there's nothing about me that wants to change. The counselor say, well, she doesn't like it. You're gonna have to try to cut back. No, I can't. This is me.
No, this is not an abusive behavior.
Exactly.
This is not sure, right. There's things that you do need to work on as a couple. Like if you would have problems, but
if it's an abusive,
if you have like if you're abusive in any way, or if it's infidel, whatever, if you have a problem online with girls or whatever it might be,
that's then totally different.
But it maybe. There's a line where somebody says, I'm not going to change. I'm going to keep doing this. And I can tell you I'm going to change. Right. And I might for a while, but I'm going to get this temptation again. I'm going to well, then we need to really work on it, or we need to really get out of it. It needs
Right,
to
but
end.
when it's something that's abusive and that's going to really affect your relationship in an abusive manner, that's not at all what I'm talking about.
No, I know.
You know what I mean? Like
right,
if you have
right.
an anger issue and
You're
you're like, I've
talking
always
about-
had anger issues, so I'm going to break stuff. Well, that's a little bit different. Maybe you actually, because that's like an abusive tendency that needs help, right?
Right.
We're talking about telling inappropriate jokes or speaking to a friend that you see out in public that's the opposite sex, or having a drink with somebody that's the opposite sex, or having friendships or something like that. That's not an abusive behavior.
No.
You know what I mean?
No, not at all.
So that's what I'm talking about. Something that's abusive or
devastating, or like,
sure.
yeah, no, it's not, but that's what happens is people get nitpicky.
Yeah, you're right.
People get nitpicky and they want them to change, and basically what it's doing is it's like when you start your day off the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
Relationships are like everything else. If you start out the wrong way, I mean, you're hoping for a miracle, right?
Right.
I mean, I've done it with other things in my life. You're just hoping that something will bail you out.
Mm-hmm.
Like somebody will change. They'll get like this light bulb that goes off, and all of a sudden,
Right.
they're not going to tell those jokes, or they're going to go to church with you every
Right.
Sunday. Some people aren't built for church, right? So I just
think it's important to have a conversation with somebody. You know, obviously not on your first date. You're not going to go in strong with that. But when you know that it's getting serious and stuff comes up, you got to address it right then and there. Like right then and there, say, hold up, we need to have a talk. Like whatever this, you just can't let it go thinking it's going to change, like you said. You have to address things like up front, right then, right there. Get it on the table. That's how it's communication when it comes to the bottom line. Somebody asked me the other day, how'd they phrase it? Something like, it was on one of my TikTok lives. Like, what is the one piece of advice you would,
No, it's Nate or somebody who's knocking out there.
Oh, what's the one piece of advice you would give someone for a successful relationship? And my answer was communication.
Right.
Come in. We have a visitor.
We are
sorry.
podcasting.
Whenever I don't answer, I'm usually, what's up? What do you need?
Should I let the dog out?
If you can take her out of her crate, if you can put her on her leash and take her outside and take a treat and give her a treat if she goes to the potty.
Okay.
Okay, get her leash, take her out, take a treat, and then you can, okay?
All right, buddy.
All right. But that my answer to that question was communication, and this is what I'm talking about. Address something then and there. If you do something even after 29 years that bothered me, it's my responsibility to say, Jeff, like, when you do this, you did this and this bothered me. If I hold it in, it's going to build resentment. And over time, just like communication is key in a relationship, I think resentment is what'll kill it.
Yeah.
It's toxic. It's probably the one thing in a relationship that's going to take the ship down is resentment. It's going to.
It just builds.
So if you don't communicate, you get resentment. Resentment will sink your ship.
Absolutely.
So, anyway.
But yeah, I would say that too. Communication, open communication. I think that if someone's dating too, I would totally respect somebody if they, if it started getting serious and they go, look, I have a problem with this, and I need help fixing it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And come out and say, I don't know if I'll change. I don't know if I'll be able to fix it. I just don't.
Right.
That would be nice. You could say, okay, I'll go in this with you. I'll try to help you.
Right.
But
that's you asking for help and asking that person to try to get you to
Exactly.
change, not the other person saying, I don't like this and I'm going to change it.
Exactly.
That's my whole point.
And the
of
problem
this.
is a lot of people don't address it. They just try to change it by
Right.
manipulating them.
And they think they can't.
And they do sometimes, but it does not,
And then
like
what
you
happens?
said, it does not hold. It builds resentment
And then
because you
resentment
open your eyes one day
sinks
and you
the
go, this isn't cool. But then you feel like you're in a contract because you've acted a certain way for so long.
Right.
That you're supposed to keep putting up with it.
Right.
Resentment's
like, if you think of a ship analogy, each little thing that builds resentment is like a little bit more of a crack. It's not just like a bust a hole in the ship and now you're sinking. It's these little cracks, right?
Right.
That lets a little bit more water in, a little bit more water in, a little bit more resentment, a little bit more water, a little bit more resentment, and at the end of it, then all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, like I'm up to my face in water. What's happening? Oh crap, this is sinking. What's done?
Right. Well, that's when you get to content.
Because you wouldn't,
Is it content or contempt?
Contempt.
Contempt.
You wouldn't fix the cracks
Contempt.
when they happened. If you fix
Right.
the cracks when they happen,
You can fix
you're
resentment.
going to have more cracks in your ship.
You're always going to have more cracks.
But if you don't fix them as they go, you're going to end up slowly sinking your ship, which is your relationship.
Right. And the problem is people don't fix the cracks in a relationship. And for some reason, they think a restart with another person, they won't have those cracks.
Oh, you can go buy a new boat, but you're probably going to have
You're
the
going
same
to have
issues.
the same problems if you don't maintain it, if you don't maintenance it, if you don't get it serviced every however you're supposed to get a boat serviced.
Right.
You're going to have problems.
Every single relationship, every single ship is going to have cracks. It's going to have resentment. It's going to have issues. It's going to have things. I mean, I think every relationship has some sort of resentment at some point in time.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe you don't
sure.
if it's the beginning of the relationship yet, but stick around 29 years. There's going to be some
that's
things
right.
that you're like, yeah, I think I built up a little resentment, but here's what the thing is. It's okay. That's okay to have resentment. It's okay, but you have to fix it. You have to realize, oh gosh, if I don't talk about this is making me feel a negative way about my partner, and
That's
I
bad.
don't want that.
And your partner doesn't want that. That's the thing. If you truly love each other, it makes me sick to think that you have a resentment towards me that you're just keeping yourself, because I know it's a ticking time bomb.
Well, that's not fair to you because you can't
That's my
fix
point.
or try to fix anything that you don't know about. You don't even you're losing.
Well, I'm losing a battle I don't even know I'm in.
Right.
Right? And I have a trait. And I know there's things that we fixed recently with my personality, like something I've done forever that you've just put up with, that now I've tried to get better. When you're good about calling me out now, and I'm better about slowing down and thinking and saying, are you doing that?
Right.
Yeah, you're freaking doing that, bro.
Right.
Tell her, because before I didn't always know I was doing it. We'd fight, and I didn't know what to fix.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I didn't
Right.
know. I just didn't know what to fix.
Well, yeah, you would do it, and then I would
we
go
were-
off to
we
the
would
side, and I kind of give you
fight.
a silent treatment or like brush you off, and you're like, "What the heck is wrong with you?" And then you would come across hateful, and I'm like, "Rah." It turns into a fight
Right.
instead of just saying, "I mean, yeah, I did it not long ago." I was like, "That's what I'm talking about. You just did it again." And right then and there, you're like, "I did. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to," and it was fine. And I'm like, "Cool."
Because I know what to identify.
So but like I said, I mean, it's
but if you
just-
don't communicate the other person, and you have a tendency when someone gets snippy with you or gets pissy, you get defensive.
well, yeah, it's natural.
And I'm not even talking about being clear. Like when you're saying you're doing this, I think that's the better way to come at it, to get somebody to stop and listen, and they know it's an actual thing. Because if you just get pissy with somebody and start being a butthole, they're going to push back, and they don't even know they're doing it. They don't know what they know. Maybe
Right.
they're in a mood, but we always do that when we don't want to deal with an issue. I know there's people that are going to listen to this and go, my spouse does this, it freaking drives me crazy. We fought about, but instead of saying, hey, talking about when you're calm and saying, hey, this thing you do bothers me, and it really bothers me, and
Right.
it builds resentment, and it's making me feel negative about you. I mean, you can't fix it. But what I'm getting at with that, I think I lost my train of thought, but instead what we do is we pick a quick fight, instead of saying that, because we don't want to have to deal with it. We
Right.
just blow up, tell them to quit being, it just gets out of hand. And
I think what you're trying to say is if you have a problem with that's something that's reoccurring with the other person, as soon as they do that, just say, hey, you just did it again. Instead of letting it happen, walking out of the room, stewing about it, acting pissy all day, then it turns into a fight. And it says, well, I'm mad because you did it to me again in the kitchen. And you're like, instead of just in the kitchen saying, hey, this is what I'm talking about, in a calm way. Because like you said, if you come at somebody in an aggressive way, you are going to fight. I tell you that all the time. I'm like, I'll talk about anything you want to talk about. But if you come at me mean and hateful, it's not going to end well, because everybody, it's a natural thing to come back defensive. And it's hard to do sometimes in the heat of the moment. I get that, and it's going to happen, and it's going to happen to us again and other times.
Yeah, it is, because you come out swinging.
Right, but at the end of the day, there's and I know I do things with you too, but there's a few things that's like when you do that, it makes me crazy. Like it makes me feel this way. So I try to just say, this is what I'm talking about. This is an example of what I'm talking about, just so
Right.
you can know. But anyway, I got off track there. But basically, this whole podcast was about don't try to change your significant other, and don't act different to make them happy if you don't act that way normally.
That's right.
It's pretty simple. Hard to practice. It's a simple
Because then you
concept.
don't
It's
wanna
just
be
hard to
around
practice.
them. Because then you need a break from them, so you can be yourself.
I don't want to ever have to be a break go on a. I don't ever want to like be relieved because I'm not with my spouse or my significant other.
Like I don't want to have to go out with my boys to be silly.
I don't want to have to be like, oh, thank goodness he's going out of town. I can breathe now. No, if I'm like
awful.
that, I'm in prison, and that's not how I want to live my life.
No.
I mean, it's just not. Sure, you have moments, and you have bad parts of your relationship, and there might be some times you're like, we just need a break for a second. Like, it's going to be good for you to go away this weekend and just hang. But if it's a constant, that's kind of a red flag to me.
It's a big red flag.
So, anyway, that's just our experiences from what we've been dealing with for 29 years. We do not have a PhD. We do not have an MD. We do not have a counselor's degree, a therapist degree.
But we do have a lot of freaking experience.
We have a life degree.
We have a life degree, and we're together, and we fought battles, and we've been through a lot of stuff. So, good and bad.
Yeah.
But the thing is we've done it for 29 years. I would call that successful to this point.
Well, yeah, because you're not successful until you've been through failures and been through.
You've got to fail, and you've got to, because if we didn't have some real serious failures, I wouldn't have figured out certain things about me that made me less of a man.
Yeah, same.
For you, you know what I mean? And same, but it's hard for people to admit that.
Yeah.
But when you're in a relationship with someone, you really want to be in it, and you really want to last,
right?
Because you love their company. At the end of the day, you love to be around them, and you're not going to love to be around anybody that doesn't want you to be you.
Exactly, that's a good point.
You're just not.
That's a good point.
You think you are because they're hot. You think they are because they're funny. You think they are because they have money. You think, but when it doesn't change after 2, 3, 4, 5 years, you're gonna long to be you.
Right.
Whether you're with someone with money or with someone with whatever it is, hotness, whatever, you know what I mean? Clout, whatever it might be, but.
I agree. Well, there was another part of this podcast I wanted to get to, but we're not going to. We're gonna put it in another. We'll do another podcast on it. It's about relationships, but we can do it on another one. So. Word. Anyway, hope this helps somebody. If not, thanks for listening to us ramble on for 40 minutes or whatever it was.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Anyway.
It was fun.
All right, cool.
Have a good evening.
Peace out.
Bye.